Hi guys, Bwana asifiwe. My name is Didi Mohanji and I'm so happy to welcome you to today's Explain episode. This is a place where you get to hear testimonies, you get to have some of your questions being answered. It's just a nice place for us to get to know more about God, to get to hear about other people and the experiences in life with God. So karibuni sana to yet another time of just an amazing time. So today I am so excited. I have water. I am ready to sip water as we go nikisikiza to these stories. So today we are here, we have a very special guest with us today. I know her personally, but I shall not share where I know her from, but I'm glad that she's here and she's going to share her testimony with us. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome the one, the only Cecilia. I can't mention it, so welcome Cecilia.
Thank you.
To explain.
Thank you. I'm so honored you guys invited me.
We are so happy to have you.
I'm the number one fan.
Hey, glory.
Glory.
Karibu sana. Let's just start with the basics. Where are you from? Where do you stay? Tuambie tu a bit about yourself as we continue.
Okay, my name is Cecilia Atong.
Yes.
I am originally South Sudanese, but I've lived in Kenya all my life. I currently identify as
Kenyan.
As Kenyan. My identity. But yes, I have been in Kenya all my life. So I speak fluent Swahili. Not fluent. Fluent. That one is okay. I speak Swahili. Sisanifu.
Yes.
Ni ingine ya macho.
Yes.
That's the one I speak. And then I grew up in Kenya my whole life. I've actually grown up most of my life in Eldoret here. So Eldini home.
Yes.
Nimekuwa najua macho. Sisi potea town. Hakuna kitu nizanifunza about this town. I currently work with a cybersecurity firm in town. Yes, so maybe social media
woman
tech savvy.
Woman in tech.
Tech where? I'm doing the social media part of things. I'm the social media manager.
Yeah.
I am also the managing editor of Ruby's magazine.
We love Ruby's magazine.
Yes, here we are supporters of Ruby's magazine. Yes. So yes, I am the managing editor of Ruby's magazine.
What exactly do you do with Ruby's magazine? What is it about?
Okay, so Ruby's magazine is a Christian magazine that its main focus is to point women to Christ. So whether it's through our dressing, whether it's through our articles, what we do, what we say, how we talk, like it could be wholesome Christian living for women. So that's what Ruby's is promoting and working actively to promote. Yes.
That's nice. And so just from that brief description, so right now I don't want to assume, but now because I know you, I know that you're saved.
Yes.
I just want us to get to that kidogo.
Yes.
When did that happen and how I don't know if it's maybe when you're back in Sudan or when you came to Kenya, and how your journey has been, even as a believer, as a young girl, as a believer, and the struggles that you had. So you can share a bit of that.
I left Sudan when I was like 2 months old. So there's no memory.
Nothing.
There's nothing there of me and Sudan. There's nothing there. Back then it was Sudan, now it's South Sudan. Yes. We moved here. We lived in Nairobi for a while with my mom and my older sister. My younger sister wasn't yet born. My sister got born in Nairobi, the famous Anyel. I think I feel like everybody knows her.
We know her.
Yeah. So Anyel was born in Nairobi. And then we stayed in Nairobi for a while, and then we moved to Eldoret because my mom was feeling like it was just too much. A new city as the capital, there's just so much happening. She can't speak the language, so she felt like she needs like a smaller town that has, better community-based connection. So that's why she moved here, so it could be quiet. And then it was cheaper to live here. So we moved to Eldoret, and then we started living inside the Tel Aviv, and we've lived there like most of our lives. So we lived in Tel Aviv since I think we officially moved in Tel Aviv in 2002. And then we stayed there. My younger brother was born there, Annie. And then we moved from there. We went to Kapsoya briefly, and then we moved back to Tel Aviv. And then our other brother was born. So that's just how we've always been around in LD. But my Christian journey began in my last year of high school, which was 2017. I was 17 turning 18. I hadn't turned 18 yet. Najiuza bana. Ni juzi tu.
2017. Sawa. Nilikuwa nimeanza kucalculate miaka.
I'm always a year older than the year. So if it's 2022, I'm 23.
Okay.
Yeah. So 2017, I don't know. Okay, this is what happened. There's a church that was made across my home, across the street, and they could play every Sunday. They play their music really loudly, and I could hear it in my bed. Why? Really? God?
Yes.
Really? I know the worst part was I didn't see, like I had never noticed this church coming up. I never saw wakijenga. Nilishtuka tu ni biggie, it is there and it is loud. And they are singing songs I have never heard in my life. So I'm like, these songs, we don't know them. And they're so loud. And then my younger sister, Anya, came from school. At the time she was in Kapsabet Girls. So she came from school, then she saw this church. She's like, I'm going to go to this church, at least for once. Mrs. Idwanga wale wa Christmas.
Kanisa.
Na ilikuwa ni jumama ametuforce. Like, sisi ametuforce, like, ilikuwa tradition. So, sasa Anyera akasema nataka kwenda kanisa. Nikamwambia,
poa.
Mimi nikawa kwa bed. You know those teenage years where kitanda is your best friend. I was in a day school. So weekdays, had Saturday, I'm busy in school. So Sunday is like my holy grail day to unwind. And then Anyera goes to this church. She comes back. Oh, it's the best thing that has ever happened in her life. So there's a pastor mwenye ni mzungu. I'm like, why are all this? Like, I really don't care. You know, I really don't care. Anyera goes. She goes for the second Sunday, and then she comes back and tells me they have a concert called Plug-in Concert. She's like, come, it's going to be in the afternoon from 3, so you're not going to like be asleep or anything, and you don't have anything to do, so just come. I told her I'm going. She said, just come. And I was like, so I want to come, just to get her off my back. And then my really good friend from high school, her name is Michelle. Michelle calls me and tells me, Cecilia, tuko hapa, uko across the street na hauko. I'm like, bus, come on, Bogiko. I go to Calvary, or the church is Calvary Chapel. I go to Calvary Chapel, and of course there was music, there was dancing. I was just like, in a drama. Drama. I was just like, okay. Sijui hizi mawimbo, like hata munisaidi munasike vitu yenye mimi sijui. So nimekaa tu, and then this guy goes up to preach. You know, this guy goes up and then he introduces another guy who comes up to preach. So the guy comes up to preach, and I remember he preached from 1 Corinthians 13. What is love? I think for the first time sijaisikiza preaching. Like, hiyo ilikuwa the first time mpaka mwisho. Na sikulala, I didn't sleep. It was very logical. It was very explainable. And mimi kwa jonga Bible la easy explain it, you know, it's up for everyone's interpretation. I think that was my first time to hear the gospel. Because of course he wrapped it up and said, you know, Christ is the one who is the true definition of love. But I think it hit me, mimi sijui mapenzi nini, mimi sijaipendwa, watu wanipendi. Mimi kama in your love. Kama because you're talking about agape and talking about the way it's unconditional. I was like, I've never experienced love. And then he even mentioned that to experience true love you have to be in Christ. And I was like, inaka idea fiti, but acha tuniishi hiyo. Nikaenda home, and then it became a thing. Now Sunday became, because I was like, if it makes sense, why shouldn't I go? So I started going every Sunday. Every Sunday I started going. But it was my 4th Sunday is when I think Nika feel your conviction in my heart that I was sinful and that I had offended a, you know, holy God. Now let's go backward. Let's rewind big time. Selector. In I think from class 2. I think class 2 ilikuwa 206.
Around Tafanya math
around 7. I think from class 2. Class 2 was the first time I noticed that I was attracted to females. Nakafikiria class 2 si mtu mdogo. Class 2 ni mdogo sana. Like, how do you know attractions in class 2? I think for me it was very objectively. You see little girls the way they act around boys. They're like, maybe boys wako wananifanyia anything. Maybe for me there was one particular girl in our class. she used to smell so nice. Aki. Niyo marashi.
Marashi inaweza fanya ile kitu.
Ilikuwa ya shetani.
Wewe.
There was this girl in our class, and I liked her.
Okay.
But everything within me felt like it was wrong that I liked her. I don't know why I felt like it was wrong, but I just knew this has to be a secret. She moved schools, so I didn't see her again. But then in class 5, we had another girl come in, and I also liked her. Now, huyu alikuwa ananiongelesha. Huyu wa class 2 alikuwa ananiongelesha. Huyu alikuwa ananiongelesha kila saa. I'm telling you, Didi. You know the way you, like your stomach turns. Like, I used to go to school with the motivation of just seeing her. See ati masomo ni nini?
What is education?
What is hata sielewangi anything anyway. I never used to go to school for that was my greatest like nilikuwa hadi sikuwa naamushwa. Watu wadogo naamushwa, mimi sikuwa naamushwa. Mimi nilikuwa quick on my feet to go to school because I wanted to see her. But still, like in my soul, I felt like it was wrong. I don't know why I felt like it was wrong. I just knew it was wrong. Okay, much later I understand it was, you know, the image of God in me, not but I just knew it was wrong. I can't do anything about it. We can't even be friends because I felt like if I was her friend, we'll do evil things. I don't know what. Then I didn't know what evil things was. I just know it was evil. I think I went through primary just knowing mimi niko different. My mind works different. I question everything. I question simple things like why should boys like girls? Who said that should be the case?
Why is it treated?
Why is it muliamuaje? I just went through primary like that. And then when I got to high school, my first Form 1 orientation, the teacher mentions different rules. And she mentions no boy-girl or no girl-girl non-academic relationships. I was like, there's girl-girl non-academic relationships. Ali mentioned there's no boy-girl, no boy-boy, no girl-girl non-academic relationships. Nikasema, kuna girl-girl. And then she continues to talk, and then she says the word lesbian. The first time I hear that word, and I'm just like, so girl unaitwa lesbians. Nikasema, I think you ni mimi. I think that's me. So we finish the first term, we go home. That's the first thing nenda ku Google. Pale Google niko lesbian. Hey! Google of course gives you overflow information. Overflow. I remember that time was when Vine ilikuwa imeanguka. Nakumbuka Vine ama wewe ni mzee?
I think I'm old. These two guys I'm old.
There's an app called Vine. Vine ikaanguka, and then now most people from Vine wakaenda YouTube. That's when YouTube was a thing. So there's this girl on YouTube, her name was Young Jeezy. She's still there. She's a lesbian. Nilikuwa napata sasa recommendations za Young Jeezy a lot. And she was a stud. I don't think I was a stud. And I never explored. But she was a stud, and she dated girls. And she was like happy. I was like, okay, interesting. Now I have a role model. Now I have someone who's done it, and they can like tell me what he's all about. I feel like I consumed all her videos. I think like 70 videos. I watched them all. And then I subscribed, so every video ikitokea ilikuwa Thursday na Sunday. Know your mimi nenda ku watch. That was my first time I identified as a lesbian. It was still very shaky for me because I didn't like hate men. I didn't hate them. I just felt like my attraction for females was stronger than for men. Alafu hawako ananiongelesha. So mimi nilikuwa nerd. Mimi nilikuwa ule msemo mwenye nakaa TV na wauliza maswali na katu kwanza tu miwani karibu. So I was always a nerd. So most of the times I would associate with females because madem wamejanga na madem. So it was easier. I was just like, but I think hapo Form 1 ndo nika identify as a lesbian. So I go through nikahama shule, nikaenda to a different school. Now in this school there was more homosexual people, boys and girls who are both, you know. I was like, they've brought me to the right place. They've brought me to the right place. Now I can ask questions of my friends. So I started asking questions. I learned the word bisexual.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I learned the word bisexual. This is like Form 2 Keisha. I learned the word bisexual from this friend of mine. And then he even gave me like like now more role models who are bisexual.
Yeah.
And even I couldn't make sense. So you like both of them. It's like not at the same time, like at different times. Like you could have emotional connections with both. Aubagui. Nikasema, that's me. Mimi nafaa nioleke. Mama wangu ataniua nisipooleka. So there's that thought in my head that I have to get married because I need children. Because my desire for children was there. Okay. So, and I knew children ni Monday only. Yeah. Form 2, mwisho, I'm nimekuwa bisexual. But I had never done anything about it until I'm in this school. Then now, nilikatiwa na msichana. Nikasema, na si bad manners.
Okay.
See bad manners. So she told me she likes me.
Yeah.
I was like, so what are we doing here? She's like, hey, we're gonna be in a relationship. As in like relationship like boys and girls relationship. And she's like, hey, relationship like boys and girls. I was like, yes. Let's do this. It was very like new ground for me. So I was learning a lot from her. So she's the one who tell me, it's okay if we hold hands. I think, hey, it is. And then nobody questions because it's in madem. It was ikaanza tu and it became like a huge thing for me. Like it became my identity. So I was like, mimi I'm in a relationship with a girl. Hakuna tu mtu ananiambia nyinyi wengine mimi napenda udem. Na yeye ananipenda, and that was just our relationship. We dated for my 2 years in high school. The last 2 years in my high school. Okay. And then I was supposed to finish in 2016, but I repeated my year in 2017 again. Okay. So 2016 I finished school. She also finishes school, but me, I repeat. So she's moved on. Now we are having a strain because we're not together all the time like we used to be. Yeah. But I was just feeling like, we can get through this. And then I get born again. Mungu ni nani? Ananihanda hadi kwa kitanga. That was the hardest time in my life. Yeah. Because I knew I couldn't have God and have her at the same time. Like I knew I had to forsake this part of me. I felt like the only stories that I was getting about homosexuality was Sodom and Gomorrah, and I was feeling like even the cliche hata msiniambie hiyo story. And then now I'm reading the Bible for myself, and I'm seeing all throughout the Gospels and all throughout the the way they're saying, a man is to marry a wife, a man one wife. I'm like, kwani marriage iliundwa tu? I'm just going to Genesis, whatever. Yeah. And then I'm seeing Apostle Paul constantly talking about homosexuality or sexual immorality. And I'm just like, the first book I read for myself was Romans. Yes. Can you imagine the way nilisikia attacked from all sides in the first chapter? And I'm just like, guy,
is it just me?
And then I was so I think I was having a hard time processing all of them. So I'm reading it, but I don't know what to do about it. So I go and tell my pastor. At the time I was called Pastor Ben. I was like, Pastor Ben, I don't know what to do with all this overflowing information. Like I feel like this in my heart, and there's all these things. Yes, it's convicting, but there's makes sense hapa. Lakini hapa kuna ka disconnect. Like I want to love Jesus, but I can't forsake. So what do we do? Like, can I have both, the best of both worlds? Can I be a Z? Can I be, have you prayed? Maombi ni nani? So namanga saya food peke yake. Saya food na jani masi. Those are the only times you pray. I was like, oh, as inafaa kumbongesha. Nafaa kuongea na yeye nimuulize what's up. Nikauza like your story does God just hate the sin and love the sinner? Like, can I continue in my sin and just God just love me because I'm still his child, you know? I can't be like, he's happy. No, you must forsake. That's when he told me God loves us enough to take us the way we are, but he won't keep us the same way. There has to be a work of sanctification that will happen. Nikasema mimi sipendi my stories zenyu. I think tuntarudi kwa streets. Tuntarudi kwa bed too. I went back home. I prayed for the first time, and it was very clear for me. Like I couldn't have both. I think only one of the biggest struggles for the people in the LGBTQ community, because you don't have that assurance whether you can have both or not.
Okay.
Because when I feel as if you want to drag this part, for me it was very clear, point blank clear. You can't have both. You have to break up to have me. It wasn't like an audible voice. It was like an impression on my heart.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad. Nililia. Watu wanalilianga wanaume, mimi nililia leo. I cried about it, but I knew God was worth it at the time. I didn't know why or how or what all of this entailed. I just knew God was worth it. So I took the leap of faith. I broke up. Heartbreaks, man. I broke up, and there was so much peace about my breakup. Like, I think one thing I prayed for is asikuwe mbaya kwangu, like asianze like to see fight, like ikuwe a mutual agreement. Like I didn't want us to fight, me and her. And I told her, and she said, "It's okay. I support your, Gen Z. I support your spiritual journey." But she'll always be there for me. Like she was very cute with it. Like she wasn't like mad or like angry with me. And I felt like I'll come on a strain already. I was like, okay, thank you God that Mimi spending conflict evil. So maybe this was like, but it was not any less heartbreaking. I think since then it has been like a work of God. Honestly, like God has been very faithful to keep the promise that he made to me, that he would be there for me, like throughout every single season. I think people usually assume, especially in the church, people usually assume that when you leave the LGBTQ community, you are cured, kama malaria, imeisha, tuna move. I don't think they understand. Like, I think the best description for what happened would be what we're reading in BS last week about Jacob. The way he wrestled with God, and then he had like a dislocation in his hip. Like, he's fine, but he'll always have that limp. And he has a relationship with God, but he always has the limp. Like, God could heal his hip, but he didn't. And I feel like that's the same thing. Not for everyone in the LGBT. I think there are people who just move on. Now, wanapenda tu now the opposite sex and they're fine, but other people have to consistently struggle with it. So for me, I feel like niko na thorn in my side. Of course, ever since then, I got born again in 2017. I got into a relationship in 2019. And I think slowly my mind has changed, especially because I understood what marriage was. Like I was taught, the ways of God, why God instituted marriage the way he did, because he's creator. He gets to say about your sexuality. So that's been the journey. I got born again. I had to neglect that. God has been very faithful. I live a very joyful Christian life. The hardest part is really finding joy when you forsake. So I forsook, and I'm very joyful. Like Mimi, what was SPF can testify. Their business.
Yes, we can testify. And it's even just nice to hear your story, because mi kidogo hata niko hapo shocked. I'm like, that was class 7 or class 5. That was in 2006. That was in
2006 is class 2.
Class 2.
2011. 2010 hapo ndio class 5.
But back then we didn't even like have or even know that these things were going on. I say, tunafikiria hizi ni vitu zina happen
za huko.
Like for now though, I think most people are coming to terms to now these things are happening right now. The LGBTQ community is here with us. But then it's interesting to hear that even back then when you were that young, like even the feelings were there when you were in class 2. I'm imagining a class 2 child.
That's why
I'm like, wait.
May I understand when people in the LGBT community say that they are born like that, because as far as their memory can take them, they've only, like Mimi, as far as I can remember, class 2, I can remember that me I liked a girl. And even when I tried to piece together, even in my preschool, the way I used to hang out with females and the way I used to hang out with, it was very, like, may I understand why they say that they are born like that. But what we do know is God calls us to be a new creation. One. 2, people have to understand it's a sin issue. Like the way watu wengine wanazaliwa mtu kama wanadanganya. Like mtu tu ni muongo from the get go. Same thing in LGBTQ, that people can be born attracted to the opposite opposite gender, and it's a sin issue. So you could debate whether you're not born like this, it doesn't bear any fruit, because for them their experience as far as they can recall, always maybe even now ujui umekuwa naye Yeah.
And what was your experience again with this entire situation? I'm also asking this because I think you, me, and a few others, we really work with young people, and especially the young people who are generation yetu saizi. You know. Yeah, generation yako actually. How was it with your family? Like, did they ever notice these things? Were you ever open about it with them? How was it, and how was that struggle?
I'm generally closer with my younger sister.
Okay.
But when I was telling her these things, she was also young. So for her, she's processing through my mind, like, and then I'm telling her in small bits and pieces. And so for her, she's just like, okay, so leo tuko hivi, kesho tuko hivi. So for my sister, it wasn't like a big deal. Like my younger sister, it wasn't a big deal. I wasn't as open with my older sister. My older sister is just much more quiet. So ni ngumu tu kumwambia tu story yoyote tu hivyo. Of course, I knew this is not a conversation I'm ever gonna have with my parents. Ever. I think that was the hardest. Hiyo nilikuwa najua tu mamangu akifind out ni by mistake. Na hiyo sasa nitaruka tu. Nitamwambia ulisikia wapi? So for me, it never came up in conversation with my mom ever. I think what came up in conversation was the fact that, again, another problem with our generation, we have romanticized suicide. Like suicide is like a cool thing for us. I don't know why. Okay, I do know why, but I think that's one of the conversations I had with my mom. I told her how I was experiencing such severe loneliness when she's here. Like, why am I struggling with killing myself? And you should be able to notice when your child is extremely lonely and depressed. And we had that conversation, but she was just like, maybe sielewi hizi maneno yenu, like, what are you saying? But she's grown. She's come a long way. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Another thing, again, still with our young people, I think we got to our young people.
How do we handle?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do we do it? How do we?
I think don't go the science road. I always tell the church.
Yes.
Even could debate, our bodies, the way they function. Nonsense. Yote. We already know that. Okay, I'm saying we, speaking for the younger generation, we already have these facts and all these stories, right?
Yeah.
You have to understand it's an identity issue. So when you talk about it, I feel instantly attacked and want to put defenses. That is like a very sensitive topic. Like the way you would handle like sexual sin for any other person. Like, for example, Didi, if you find, let's use Kemuma. If you find Kemuma in sexual, or you hear that she's in sexual sin, the way you'd handle it. First, there's supposed to be secrecy. There's supposed to be privacy about the whole thing. The way you come to her peer, it's the same way you need to handle somebody. Like, even to make it so public and disgracing them doesn't win souls. You can't. You catch more flies with honey than salt. So you have to be very gracious. One. Lazima uko na relationship now.
True.
I feel like of course it could work without the relationship. Like for me, I didn't have somebody to speak into my life who was like God used mutu kwa pulpit. Mwenye alikuwa anaongelea something completely different. But I feel like relation have more impact because they know your life. So that they know you're not speaking to them from a self-righteous standpoint. Because that's how they usually feel. Usually feel unaniambia jo una feel when you hold that's how they usually feel. So don't go the science route, or don't go the Sodom and Gomorrah. Those are cliches. I feel like the gospel alone has power unto salvation. Like sharing that they have been sinful, not othering, not making their sexual sin look bigger than their lives, right? Like all wholesome, they have been sinful. I think that's something that was harder for me to understand, that God wasn't just angry because I'm LGBTQ alone. Wewe ni muongo, wewe ni muizi, unapenda kuiba. Unapenda kudanganya. Unapenda hizi vitu zote. It's not just LGBTQ alone. Okay, so when you add that LGBTQ, you make this other things look smaller than, all of it. The root of all of it being pride. So you're prideful, so you feel like you need to other yourself, and you know what is better than the creator. So you don't isolate their sin in particular unless they ask about it. Like I mean, like every time I have these conversations with my friends who are still in the LGBTQ, and like we talk about it, we talk about sexuality because they will always bring up sexuality, but I never make it seem like peke yake tu ndio inakufanya unakuhinda God asiongee na wewe zi bro pia ni muongo. You have it's a wholesome problem. I think dealing with identity sins are very hard. Like somebody who's a thief doesn't identify as a thief. I'm not proud to be a thief, you know. So it's easier to tell a thief, "Oh, enjoy everything unafanya ni mbaya." And anasema yenyewe ni mbaya. Karibu niuliwe the other day. But for an identity sin, it's so much more difficult. And I've realized not just with LGBTQ, also pia watu wenye, you know, straight people, when they're in sexual sin, dem na boy, and they're dating, it's so hard to speak into their lives. Same too. So don't other it. Pray for them a lot because they're usually at crossroads all the time. Like, kuna hiyo battle within them. By the time wanafika penye wameinam, ni juu they want their sin to prevail. And so wakifika hapo pia, like, of course you talk to them still, but you pray for them a lot. You're very, like, I learned when I first got saved, I was very zealous. So nilikuwa huyo msee wa facts nini alafu tunakosana. Wasema kwa nini tuna clash hivi na mimi naongea ukweli. Tuna clash. I think God I may soften my heart so much for them, to see them more as than just their sin, that they're also human with complexities as well, and different stories. So the more I hear from them, like my heart just breaks for them tremendously. So mimi aki ministry yangu ni nguvu, but I think all ministries ni hard. I think Jenna kwa never hata mu evangelist anakana analia anasema watu wako kibana. Everyone has every ministry has its burden, and that's mine. Mine is the church needs first an awareness that this is not an American thing. It's not a Western issue. It's here with us, in our schools, everywhere, and especially social media. Social media is like the number one producer of this. Like me, I'm a social media manager, and the stats usually that LGBTQ content is pushed more than straight people content with the platforms. So Instagram is pushing for your platform most homosexual content or more LGBTQ content than straight people content. So already the system is against your children.
Series these days, it's so hard to find, you know, a movie or a series without
and it's even the cartoons. When was it? Even cartoons for children. So it's everywhere. So now you have to be first aware what it is. Like, naona watu navaa pride flag kila mahali, and I'm just like it's one thing to wear the rainbow and the pride flag look different, and people don't know and they look different. The rainbow has 7 colors, the other one have more than 7. So you need to know the difference. So unavaa rainbow,
mimi leo nimechagua tu kuvaa
unafikiri unavaa rainbow, lakini umenunua nguo yenye inasaidia kupush the agenda. So it's deeper than that. First, there has to be an awareness for the church, and then there also has to be softening of people, especially the older generations. Because all the time, the number one problem for the LGBT community is really coming out to their parents. They feel like if our parents were more equipped, they wouldn't handle it the way they usually do, because that's that they made a whole community. Sasa ukipigwa na mama yako nyumbani, you can come here. We have made a safe haven for you. And that's not what we want. We don't want to kick our children out to go now to we don't want them to go evil. After you wakaa hapo na wewe na deal nayo mundu kumundu kushinda ende huko. I think my heart breaks a lot for them. I can decide, but it keeps growing. It will keep growing. It's a sin issue. It won't like disappear. It won't vanish to evolve ati mkeka laws and policies. It will just be here with us. We need to be able to win hearts for Christ.
And I think even now, even hearing you talk about it and just saying that we need to approach it differently, I think now even us as believers, it calls for us even, we can't act the same way somebody who does not know Christ acts
for sure,
towards somebody who is in the LGBTQ community. You know, there has to be a difference in how we talk to these people. There has to be a difference in how we...
There has to be a difference in how we talk to everyone.
Yeah, everyone.
In general. All unbelievers.
Yeah, it can't be the same. You know, what makes the difference? And I think
the church has the most homophobes, so...
your guys. Oh Lord!
The church does
the discussion that is about to start.
The homophobia in the church is insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. We went for there's an LGBTQ thing in Nairobi, and they invited like a preacher to now officially give them what the Bible actually says about Sodom and Gomorrah. And that preacher who came, alikata kusimama na the more feminine men. Nilikuwa nasikia nimechoka. I'm just like una ban for the whole community as believers. He was just feeling, alikuwa feel very disgusted. And I'm just like, you can't, because you have to also look at your own sin. Like once unajielewa pia wewe ni mtenda dhambi, haiwezi kustua ya mtu mwingine. Sasa una feel as if ati msiseka. Baka akajiseclude. Alafu he still went up there and says, "Oh, we love you."
Is that love, you know?
It wasn't adding up.
Yeah. It starts a very interesting conversation. I think even for me kidogo ninaifikiria zaidi na zaidi, and I hope that even for everyone who has listened to this today somehow has gotten something. I believe everyone has gotten something a bit about sexuality. But not just any sexuality. Tunajua tunaogopa, by the way. Even now we are so afraid to talk about it. It's I don't know. I hope this begins a discussion. This begins or gives people an opportunity to ask questions, and I hope that the people we ask this question to will be also willing to, you know, to just sit, not attack. You know, kuna tena wenye tunaulizanga na nika sasa nilikuwa tunauliza kwa upole. But I hope that we get these safe spaces, if not anywhere else. I believe inside the church we need to have this safe space to discuss about such
and it's
things.
Not conversion therapy. I think one of the things one of the misconceptions, especially for us young people, is that when we go to church, tunaenda kukonvertiwa to go straight. It's not conversion therapy, it's the truth. We're going to teach you so that you don't have excuse. You know the truth. Mimi nafikiri mimi nikienda kanisa wanaenda kuniambia tu nibadilike, niache kukua, you know, these things, and hawakuambii ubadilike, wanakuambia ukweli. Wewe ndio uta make your decision uko na God. The decision still falls on you to make the choice.
That's true. And I thank God, because I think even the other day I was being reminded that yes, the church is there and it's a good place to be, but the church, which is also us, is full of people who are ill, you know, and they're coming to the church actually to find a place of solitude and a solution. And let's not be the ones to chase away these people. You know, if somebody has come and has believed that this is where they're going to get that help from, let us play our roles that Christ has given us to make sure that we do our part to make sure that these people are helped in one way or another. So again, us as the church, us as the body of Christ, have a big responsibility.
We do.
And it's a good reminder for
we
that.
Do have a big one.
You know?
Yeah.
Anything else unataka kuongezea before tukafunge? Anything?
That usually puts me on the spot. And I feel like it's not just the church who's afraid to have this conversation. Like even me, I don't want to talk. I was texting Joy the other day. Joy texted me. I was in another podcast talking about my testimony, and Joy listened, and then she texted me and told me, "I've heard your testimony and it really encouraged me. Like I've really learned a lot." And I was like, "Oh, go sure." Like, and I was like, Perry. Like I feel like I'm not as equipped to talk about it. And even me, I think one of the biggest tactics the devil uses for even us who are believers is fear. That we're afraid to tutamitiwa na so much rejection, tutamitiwa na so much, we lose so much. Me, I've lost so many friends hey, I've lost so many friends. And that's usually like I'm afraid to talk about it because I'm like, sasa italeta story gani nyingine. Nianze kutextiwa na watu wa SPF waniambie nini tena. Even I didn't want to come here. I didn't want to come here today, but I was just like, maybe if imanza kuni cripple for a ministry that I know God has called me for. And if he has called, he will give you everything you need for the work because it is his ministry. It's his people still. So it takes a lot even for me kukuja kuongelelea hizi maneno. Masikianga guys, tuongelee tu grace ya God. Grace is sufficient every day.
Yeah. We need to get uncomfortable sometimes.
Mimi yangu ni mara moja. Mnashinda mmeni.
Na bado tujamaliza ndo tunaanza. But anyway, thank you Cecilia.
Karibu.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for sharing your story. And I believe in my heart that somebody somewhere, hata kama ni mmoja, amepata kitu.
Amen.
I am encouraged this afternoon. And I hope that everyone who has watched this episode today has gotten something. We are always here. We love doing this. We thank God for the ministry that is happening even through this Explain series. And we just hope that you can get to hear some of your testimonies. You can get to share some of the encouragement that you have. And we believe that somebody somewhere else will also get encouraged. So thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you've been blessed. So until we meet again, Cecilia, tunaweza sema tu, turus.
See ya.
Bye guys.